I guess we can start in a couple minutes if no one else shows up. This is what we did last year, where we just did it in front of the staff members. Yeah, I told Molly Madison, you know this, but Monica, I hosted a road show like right before we shut down last year, like introduction for no one. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the Study Abroad Roadshow. Today we're going to be learning all about study abroad programs at Iowa, specifically the virtual programs that have been happening during the pandemic. We're also going to discuss how you can get experiential learning credits from studying abroad, and we will hear about a firsthand virtual study abroad experience. My name is Anna. I am an Honors Outreach Ambassador, and I helped plan this event along with Molly and Madison, who you will hear from more later. We're excited to welcome Monica Ernberger from the Study Abroad program, who is actually an alumni of the Honors program at Iowa, which is super exciting. She's going to give us a presentation all about studying abroad at Iowa. And then Monica, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Anna. So as Anna said, my name is Monica Ernberger. I'm a senior program coordinator here. I actually oversee international internships at the University of Iowa. I'm based in the study abroad office, so I'm also connected with the study abroad programs we have, the faculty-led programs we have, and all of that good stuff. I'm going to mainly start with the virtual global internship opportunities because those are something that is going to be a sustainable option. It's something that we crafted very particularly with going forward, possibly in perpetuity with that option. I will also talk a little bit about our virtual faculty-led options because I heard just today that at least one of them is going to be offered again next winter. Things could change a lot between then and now, but it's the same sort of principle. There are some students who really need a virtual opportunity instead of a travel opportunity. So let's dive on in. The reason that we're basically starting up a conversation about virtual global opportunities, as everybody knows, is a result of COVID-19 and how it shut down travel. We had about 100 students ready to go, and then COVID happened, and we had to find an alternative for them. It was a chance for us as an office to really examine what we do, why, and for whom. And the big question is, what's our main goal here? And that is to provide impactful international experiences for our students before they graduate. And so we really quickly crafted the virtual global internship program before any of the other programs came on board. And we got about a quarter of those students into virtual internships that very summer. Iowa's actually been a leader in the virtual internship field. We've been consulted by several other universities for our efforts in this arena. So it's been very gratifying to see how this has taken off. I think that most people are aware that there's a travel ban on right now. That has been something that has been decided at a variety of levels. Originally it was something that the Board of Regents had in place. They have now handed that over to each individual university. At the moment, our travel ban is set to expire August 1st. And then what happens after that is still to be determined. A lot will depend on how the things are going in the world. And that's a pretty vague things to say, but there are so many places where things can either be stopped or started. Here's an example. So let's look at Australia. If we lift our travel ban and we allow our students to travel and they went to go to Australia, so that was obstacle number one. Iowa saying they could go. Then the government of Australia has to agree that they will let people come in as other than citizens. And then we have to have that foreign university agree to host those students. And then finally, we have to have a way to get them there. At the moment, Qantas, the national airline for Australia, is not doing commercial flights. So everything has to come together in harmony in order for things to flow the way we need them to flow. We anticipate that we will have limited opportunities in person in the fall, depending on how COVID vaccine rollout is going. But the main thing I wanted to really kind of focus on is the fact that even once travel does open up, we're going to keep these internship opportunities. And I've just gone, wow, what is going on with our presentation here. Well, technology, I love it. Basically, there's several reasons why we want to keep these virtual opportunities. Not everyone can afford to take a summer off to go do an internship abroad. Some people might need to, work a domestic internship that is got a career payout at the end, and they can't afford not to do that one while they still want an international experience. They might need to be at home helping generate income for their family or for their tuition or supporting their family with siblings. They might have kids of their own. They might, not be someone who is comfortable flying or traveling. There are all kinds of reasons why somebody might not want to physically go abroad for any length of time. And so we want to make sure that those students still have an opportunity to have an impactful global experience. The other thing is students such as yourself who are, really high achievers who have a lot on your plate. You've got clubs and activities and projects and your honors research and all of this kind of stuff. Maybe you can't afford to take a semester or summer off either. The nice thing about virtual opportunities is that you can still do them during a semester, which is not something we can do with an on-site internship. So with a global virtual internship, you could do it either in place of a UI course during the semester or in addition to a 12 credit course load, thereby giving you an opportunity to keep up with your classwork, graduate on time, but still have that impactful experience. So that's pretty darn exciting as well. These internships really give you a chance to do all of the things that a regular on-site internship would do in terms of building that personal and professional network, getting experience for your job or career, developing different skill sets that are going to help you with that career, perhaps exploring a particular area that you're interested in going into, but you're not sure you want to invest a lot of time in until you have a chance to try it out and see if it's the right fit for you. There are a lot of things that you can do while you're doing one of these internships, because you're going to do about 120 hours at a placement, and then you're going to concurrently do a course. That course is usually about career development, ways to make the most of this internship experience. It may, however, also be thematic and based on the critical conversation that is being addressed by that internship. And we can look at an example of that in a little bit here. These are incredibly inexpensive compared to other offerings. If you think about it, you don't have plane tickets, you don't have a visa, which is your permission to be in a country doing something other than being a tourist. You don't have time where you missed working a paid job. You don't have to have a passport. You don't have to pay rent in an apartment in a major city. All kinds of costs that just aren't there with one of these virtual internships. And so financially alone, they're a really nice way of having, if nothing else, an intro experience. Maybe there's a location that you're feeling a little trepidatious about. Maybe you've got your eye on somewhere like Kenya and you're like, that sounds really neat, but I'm not sure that I really want to commit to doing an 8-week program there. So you do a virtual internship based in Kenya, see if it's really going to spark that fire. And if it does, then the next summer, go ahead and do an on-site internship. We've got several students who are doing that, as a matter of fact. So, it's nothing else, if nothing else, a chance to kind of dip your toes into the pool and see if something of this nature might be for you in the future. When you do this course, you're going to come back with credit that's going to go on your University of Iowa transcript, anywhere from 3 to 6 credits, depending on the program you pick and the duration. You're going to have the ability to work on your language usage if you want to try and see what it would be like to do that before you commit to a career in that direction. So for example, let's say you think that you might be interested in doing something where you're doing a bilingual placement, maybe bilingual medical practice. And, as someone who majored in a language and who did then work in international business, I can tell you that the vocabulary that you use in that language in your workplace, in your field, is going to be very different than that which you learned in the classroom. There's a whole subset of vocabulary words and terms and things like that that you might never even have been aware of. The other thing is you can just say, I would like to have my experience mostly be in English, but I'd like to use my Spanish during this experience, maybe for, some parts of it. And so if nothing else, maybe you get a taste of using that language while you're doing your placement. There are placements in English in every location we have. So, by default, you can always have an English speaking placement. However, that language could be an added on benefit to that. And for me, one of the main reasons I think students ought to do this is because this is really one of the hot skill sets that employers are looking at. I just worked at one of our job fairs, and I had a chance to speak with some colleagues who were in industry and organizations, and they let me know that, the face of the working world has really changed. We have left the 9-to-5 office in the city model, and we're not going back. Employers have discovered that it is to their benefit to have happy employees, and that they can save quite a lot of money by not having to rent out office space. So what they're looking for now is employees who not only have an international experience, but they have remote work experience. Now, I know that you guys are all doing coursework remotely, but doing a remote work experience can be quite different than doing a course experience remotely. And so it's a very separate subset of skills that you will be able to talk about when it comes time to either that grad interview or that work interview, when you're looking at the next stage of what you're going to be doing. All of our internships are through our provider partners who not only teach the class that you take while you're with them, but they also provide a whole lot of student support services. They mentor you throughout the experience. They headhunt for you and find your placement. They let you know how to craft a resume for the country that you're looking to have your placement in. So they do all kinds of things to help our students and support them and make sure that they're successful where they want to be. And each of these has sort of a specialty. So one of the things you do when you meet with me is we go through these different possibilities and figure out what the right fit for you is. What are your goals? What are your objectives? What do you want to get out of this? Do you have a particular location that you're really fixed on? Or are you looking at a particular skill set you want to develop? So on and so forth. Each of these meets a different set of needs. It used to be that internships were really focused primarily on the field of business. And it's true, they are a great fit for anybody in TIPI or in business. There's no argument about that. But they have expanded a lot in the last few years. They are now basically something that anybody can do, no matter what your major, no matter what your field of interest. You can find an internship placement that's going to help you advance you to the next stage of what you want to do in life. You can see that we've got things like social welfare, we've got law, we've got fashion and international relations. I went and did a site visit with a student who had a law placement, and I asked him why he did it and, what did he get out of it? And he said, law school is incredibly expensive, incredibly time consuming, and really a sort of way of life. And before I dove into that world, I wanted to make sure that it was the right fit for me. And I said, has this made your mind up? He said, absolutely, I'm all in. He said, so when I do that law school interview, when I spend that money on a future career like that, I can do it with eyes wide open, knowing that this is a great fit for me and I'm going to be passionate about what I do. So doesn't matter what your field, because they're not going to look at what your major is. They're going to look at your career goals and aspirations, what you want to do in life, where do you want to be in life, how do you see yourself doing things, and then they're going to coach you and help craft things so that they can go out and find the perfect placement for you. Here are some placement examples, and hopefully it's not going to go to that. There's a delay. There we go. So you can see these are really non-traditional kinds of placements. It used to be that things were separated into like service learning, volunteering, research abroad, internships abroad, but they're all together now in what we would call experiential learning. So your honors research that you're doing at a medical center in maybe the Netherlands is going to be considered an internship just as much as that student who is doing communications work in Cape Town, or who's doing work with an archaeology program in Italy. So no matter what, it's all considered internships. The acronym now is ISLRA, I-S-L-R-A, Internship, Service, Learning, Research Abroad. So now let's talk real quickly about faculty-led programs. I know that's a particular interest to our host, Anna. These are programs where you're doing a course with a University of Iowa faculty member and a cohort of fellow Hawkeyes. Now, when you're doing an internship, there may be a fellow Hawkeye in the same provider organization as you, but chances are you'll be with students from all over the United States. Whereas with a faculty-led program, you're just going to be with fellow Hawkeyes. So it's a very different sort of set of circumstances that you're in when you're doing a faculty-led program. They are always theme-based because it's a course that's being taught, and it could be that they've got a colleague abroad who is doing part of the course, who is doing cultural things with you. I can tell you as an example, we had a business course that was led virtually last summer, and they did things like they sent packages out to the students with pasta making implements, and then they had a colleague in Italy who taught them how to make pasta, things like that. So there are all kinds of cultural elements that can still be done even if you weren't physically in that location. And all kinds of things that can be done that are going to be a lot safer for everybody involved since they're going to be virtual. Now, as of this moment, it's not determined yet how many of these programs will be virtual versus in person next winter. I can tell you, however, that as of today, at least one of them, our travel writing program with Professor John DeGata, is going to be virtual next winter. So there will definitely be some options. As far as dates go, I still have some openings for this summer. I've got openings through about May 1st for at least 2 of our organizations. But if you want to look at fall, and again, you're doing a 3-credit course, either in place of a UI course or in addition to 12 credits, and the deadlines for that are August 1st. I would love to have folks connect with me so that I can tell them all about the program and tell them about the application process that's particular to what they're looking into. Then in terms of our faculty-led programs, like I said, there's only one that still has an opening. That's through the 15th of April. The others are full now. But we got links to both of them here, and I'll be sending those out at the end of the program. Now, if you get financial aid, it goes with you. That's something not everybody realizes, even for virtual programming. The cost of the program goes on your U-bill. If you get a Pell Grant, that still applies. If you get scholarships, they still apply. You can apply for additional scholarships that are based on merit, that's GPA, diversity, or need, and that's if you do a FAFSA and you get financial need-based aid. What's exciting is you can apply for scholarships through my office, quite often through your college or department, and then quite often through the program you're looking at. If you go with one of our provider organizations, they have their own sets of scholarships. In addition to that, there are external scholarships like the Gilman. I actually was just reading Gilman essays. I'm on a panel that's reviewing those, and they have very, very innovatively decided to embrace virtual experiences, and those virtual experiences are eligible for Gilman scholarships. These are very generous scholarships that can take, if not all, then most of the cost away from a program like a virtual internship. So, looking at things like the Gilman Scholarship or the Critical Need Language Scholarship, that kind of thing, it could be very advantageous to you, even if you're looking at a virtual program. You're still doing an educational international experience, you're still eligible for aid. We can also, by the way, in our office, talk to you about other scholarships, things like the Fulbright for when you're done here and you're looking for the next thing to do. We can look at other awards like the Boren Scholarship, which leads to a State Department position, Critical Language Scholarship, all kinds of things. So please reach out to us because there are opportunities and we want to tell you about them. Your next steps are to talk with your academic advisor and then meet with your study abroad advisor. You would basically just call our office and say, I'm really interested in the virtual internship program. They'd make an initial appointment with myself. And then after that, you would see my name in your MyUI advice page and you can make all subsequent appointments yourself. And then once you've got things narrowed down, you have a program picked out, you apply with us, you apply with the program. It's usually two parts if it's with a provider. If it was a faculty-led, it would be just one application with Iowa. And then you dive into some scholarship applications. I wanted to show you a quick quote from a fellow student who did an internship, and she actually did work at the University of Modena in Italy. The thing I really want to point out in this quote is the fact that she talks about how she really experienced a lot of growth when it comes to navigating the internet on a professional level, and that she thinks this is going to be a great skill for her to have in the future as the world is moving online. And that's exactly what I was talking about. We're not going backwards. Virtual elements are going to be a part of our future, no matter what your field, no matter what your career, you're going to have some element of that as part of what you're doing, most likely. Now we do have social media at UI Abroad, so don't forget to check that out. And then now I'd love to go and look at our website. Alrighty. This is our webpage, international.uiowa.edu. And am I still connected?
Yeah, we can still see it.
Okay, I have a pop-up that said, please join this meeting. So just want to make sure. With this website, you can do a couple of things. Since we are talking specifically about virtual experiences, there's a whole link right here where you can go and learn more about virtual global internships. You can see the various choices we have here. Anna and I were talking about SIT, for example. That one has theme-based internships, so you could learn about women's rights and conflict situations in the Cameroon. You could do medical research in Kenya. You could go and work on sustainability in India, all kinds of exciting and out-of-the-box experiences there. And then we can look at virtual faculty-led programming. There are any number of choices here that are really fascinating looking. And at least one of these still has an opening, that virtual international medicine program. So do take a moment to check that out if that's of interest. Now, this is not just virtual, but I did want to show you some things like how to search. So if we go to search programs, you could do a couple of things. You can look up by your department, or you could say, I want a virtual experience. And you could say that you want an internship. And then search. Oh, I click. Ah, I picked winter. Never mind. And there are your 5 choices. When you click on them and open them up, all of our programs are going to have the same basic layout. They're going to have over on the right-hand side some quick facts, like what GPA you have to have, what kind of credit it is, where it's located, when it's offered. Then we're going to see some things about the coursework and the fields in this section. We're going to learn a little bit more about the location, if it's an on-site course. This one's about the actual structure of the placement. And then application tab is where you're going to have the application to apply. In this case, it's a 2-part process, as well as things like deadlines, costs, all that good stuff. So when you click on the cost sheet and open it up, you can see the cost right there that would be on your UBIL. The nice thing about programs, is that if you are currently financing things, then that still applies. The costs go on your U-bill, your financial aid goes on your U-bill, and then you sort out what's left. That is how we do our search. I wanted to show you real quick scholarships. So if we go to study abroad, down to cost and funding, and then we click on undergraduate scholarships, you can see those GPA-based, need-based, and diversity-based scholarships. You can also see more about specific awards. So for example, the IES internships, those have a $15,000 scholarships, and that applies towards our virtual internships as well as our on-site internships. So if your program is, $1,500 and you win $1,000 scholarship, that means that most of your costs are waived then. So it's definitely, to your advantage to apply for scholarships whenever you can. And we have someone in our office who just specializes on scholarships. So you can always call and ask to meet with that person, and she'll be happy to go through options with you as well, and talk to you a little bit about your financial aid situation. All right. Fast and furious, but there we go. That's the basic gist of it. If you want more information on a more general basis, we do have Discover Study Abroad sessions. Those are virtual sessions via Zoom on Tuesdays and Fridays. You just email study-abroad@UIowa to sign up, and you learn the basic vocabulary and general steps to take to do a study abroad or virtual study abroad program. So do take a minute to join us for a Discover Study Abroad. They're short and sweet. And then after that, you get to find a program and start the application process. All right, that's me.
Thank you, Monica. Does anyone have any questions? You can say them out loud or you can put them in the chat. I guess I have one for you, Monica.
Yeah.
Have you found, like, in the last semester or two that students are doing like a full, like maybe over 12 course loads of like regular school work and then doing like a 4 or 3 credit internship? Like, are people doing that, or are they, and is that doable, I guess?
It is doable. The thing about virtual internships is it's all about time management. And that combination of synchronous and asynchronous interactions with your organization, workplace, the lab you're working with, whatever. And so it's going to be a matter of pacing yourself. There's a temptation to just kind of jump in and work really hard and take a lot of time up on your project. But you have to remember finding that work-life balance. Now, you've still got your studies, you've still got to find time for a social life. You've still got to find time, for all of those things that life needs. And so it's a matter of, and that's one of the things that Lynette said in her quote was, for her, a lot of what she really valued by this experience was learning to kind of set time goals for herself, doing things. When I talked with her, she's like, one of the things that really helped me was learning that I was going to set aside this hour, and that was going to be my hour to work on my internship. And then I wasn't going to just like constantly duck in and out and work on it, at all times. That I had, time purposely set aside to dedicate to it. And so as long as you're able to do some time management, it is absolutely possible to do 12 credits plus a 3-credit internship. However, I would not recommend you do more than that. So absolutely no more than 12. And if you don't think that that's going to be a possibility, you can. This is a University of Iowa course, so you can do it in place of a 3-credit course if you think that that would be more than you can sustain realistically. So you guys are honors students. You know what it's like to juggle work and study and to go hard and get things done. So I have absolute confidence in anybody in honors' ability to juggle things. So. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, if there aren't any other questions, Molly or Madison, do you want to get started on your guys' part? whoever wants to go first, I guess.
Sure, I can go first talking briefly about how to earn experiential credit for study abroad experiences, both virtual and actually abroad. So basically this process is going to consist of three main steps. After you've identified the study abroad opportunity that you're interested in and registered with the study abroad office, you'll complete a pre-experience questionnaire, which is going to consist of a few basic questions that's designed to get you thinking about like what you hope to gain or accomplish from your study abroad experience. And after you've actually gone abroad and completed your virtual experience, you'll submit a post-experience questionnaire, which is going to prompt you to reflect on your study abroad and think about how it compared to your initial hopes and expectations. And in addition to this post-experience questionnaire, you'll also submit a narrative that's going to present the highlights of your experience and also how it contributed to your personal growth. And the narrative can take many forms, including like a written piece, a blog, a video, or a podcast. And more of the specific details about these requirements and the things that your narrative can include can be found on the honors website. And once you've completed your study abroad experience, as well as the pre and post questionnaire and the narrative, you'll earn experiential credit based on the length of your experience, with 4 honors experiential credits being the max for any length of experience in the same country. And again, all this information can be found on the honors website, and you'll actually submit your 2 questionnaires and your narratives on the honors website as well.
Before I talk about my experience, I just wanted to ask, does anybody have any questions on what Molly just touched on? Okay, well, I'll talk about my virtual study abroad experience. So this last winter break, I actually did a faculty-led program, and I did the international medicine course where we went into the Dominican Republic, and it was mostly, we went into hospitals. And so I'll start out by saying, obviously this is a course, so we did have classwork outside of the experience, and we used a software actually. They had to get creative because this was the first time they've ever done this virtually. We used a software where we had a virtual patient and we had to speak through a microphone to the patient and create a patient history. So obviously this is international medicine. It's very medical based and like learning how to talk with patients and like talking through their diseases with them and how to effectively treat them. So we got to do software patients and creating patient histories, and we worked with group members to write patient histories. And that was more of the coursework. So talking on the coursework side, it's not that bad. It's not like a whole lot of work, so it's very simple. Some people might think it's more work since it's virtual, but not really. And then, so we also zoomed into the Dominican Republic, and we worked with facilitators in the Dominican Republic. It was a group called Internships. And I guess I didn't mention, we worked with Professor Fagenbaum. He is in the Human Phys department. And so he got us in touch with Matrena, and we had 3 facilitators, and they went into a hospital into the Dominican Republic, and they carried around tablets, so our little faces are on the tablets, and we watched doctor and patient interactions. So we got to shadow in a lot of areas. We shadowed in gynecology, oncology, general medicine, dermatology, and that's to name a few of them. And so we watched these doctor-patient interactions, and we had, like I said, there was a language barrier, but we had translators, and we got to just see how the general hospital layout and flow worked in the Dominican Republic. And then we also got to go into the waiting room, and I found this really cool, that we got to actually talk to the patients in the waiting room and ask them about their symptoms and why they were going to the doctor, and then also just about life in the Dominican Republic in general. And I found that really awesome because I got to practice a little Spanish too. So that was really fun. And I just enjoyed the hospital aspect because I'm going into a career field in medicine. And it just, obviously I learned about patient histories. I got patient interaction. I learned about how to talk to patients, especially when there's a language barrier. And I also just in general learned about medicine outside of the US. I found that a very good experience because I was very in a bubble, if that makes sense. And I broke out of that bubble because I was not used to other people's medicine practices. And lastly, what we did was we also had cultural experiences. And I found this really beneficial because obviously we couldn't go there in person. So they really made sure that we could still experience Dominican Republic culture. So we went to Spanish classes. We had cooking classes where we learned about Dominican Republic cuisine, and we also did dance lessons. And we also toured a factory where they made water filters to make safe drinking water. So I thought that was really cool. Even though it was all virtual, we still got to learn about the experience that you would have had in person. And overall, even though it was virtual, I still learned a lot. I learned a lot about medicine, and I still learned a lot about the culture. So I think even though if you might be sad that it's virtual, it's still an awesome experience. Oh, okay. Thank you, Monica. She left already, but that's okay. And I think that's basically all I had to say about my experience. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything about that.
That sounds really cool. You got to do some cool things. I have not done a virtual study abroad yet, but I am doing one. Well, I applied to one this summer, and I've heard some like good things back, so I assume that I'll be going. But the program that I applied for is also in the Dominican Republic, and it's also another faculty led program by Mo Haskins, who is in the Department of Social Work, and it's called Women's Empowerment in the Dominican Republic. So we'll be doing some of the same things that Madison mentioned. We are going to be taking like cooking and dancing classes, and going on, like, I think they're going to try to like fly drones around the Dominican Republic to give us like a tour of different things. But then our main, like, the thing that's specific to this program is that we're going to be visiting a lot of nonprofit organizations and women's organizations to learn a lot about, you know, what life is like for women in the Dominican Republic, because it's a lot different than in the United States. And we're going to be doing, I think, a lot of like reflection and writing, and probably some lectures. I know we're going to be doing like nightly check-in chats to just like talk about everything that we learned about, and I'm really looking forward to it. And Madison, I think you have some questions in the chat too.
Yeah, so my favorite part about the study abroad was definitely talking to the patients. And obviously that was tailored to my study abroad. But I really enjoyed just talking to them and learning about why they're going to the hospital, and just learning about their all life experiences and what led them to being there. And then also, there was probably about 20 people in my group, and I did feel like I got to know them because, as I forgot to mention this, but we had meetings every day. So we obviously Zoomed into the Dominican Republic hospital, but then afterwards we would meet as a group with the facilitators from Entrena and talk about it, like our experiences of that day. So I would always see everybody in my group, everybody in the class. We were broken into smaller groups for the Zoom, but we would always come back as one whole class and talk about our experiences that day. And then we also had another meeting with Professor Feigenbaum afterwards to talk about our experiences. And we did group work throughout the whole thing on patient histories. So yes, even though it was virtual, I did feel like I got to know my classmates very well. And it was a very fun experience.
Well, that's all we had planned, unless there are any, Molly Madison, I don't think I'm missing anything. But unless there are any other questions, thank you for coming. This meeting is being recorded, so if you joined a little late, I believe it's going to be posted on the honors website, so you can go and check out the beginning of Monica's presentation if you missed any of that. But other than that, thank you guys so much for coming, and I hope it was beneficial and you learned some stuff about study abroad. I know I did, so thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.